So here's how we solve all of these problems. If you will copy this down, you will know what to do. If you memorize the answers, you will fail because the numbers are all completely different on the test. Okay? So, actually, the names are exactly the same. It's literally all we did is change the numbers. Yeah, because last time I made it up. We didn't normally do a practice quiz, but we caught you guys by surprise last time. Okay, our first one, Value Mart and Grocery Market City are both having a sale on the same popular crackers. McKenna is trying to determine which sale is the better deal. Using the information given in the table and equation, determine which store has a better deal on crackers. Show all of your work. So if all I see is an answer, are you getting full credit on this? No, you are not. What does our work look like? Everything we have taught you in this module has been go to a rate of 1. So what I'm going to do is take this to a rate of 1. So for my box of crackers, we actually talk about dollars per box, right? Normally, right? So I'm going to write this as dollars. So it's $5 for 2 boxes. If I'm going to a unit rate, what do I want it to be? 1 box. Okay? How do I go from 2 to 1? Divide by 2. So I can do that math if you need me to, but we actually took longer than I thought, so we're going to go a little quicker. Guys, equations are the easiest thing in the world because literally I can put any number I want to into my equation. So I just solved for what? 1 box. So I want 1 box. So the number of boxes I want is 1. So instead of my variable b, I substituted my value of 1, and I find out that 1 box costs $1.45. So who has the better deal? Emily? Oh, no, divide by 2. Are you talking about this one or this one? This one over here or this one? The left? And you're saying it looks like I did what? Yeah, divided by 2. 2 divided by 1 gets me 1. $5 by 2 gives me $2.50. Okay? Guys, the equation is the easiest in the world. I put the 1 in. This is $1.45. This is $2.50. Who's got the better deal? Market City. If I just have those numbers, have I answered the question? No. You have to answer this question, guys. The question is part of your points on this. Because you can have the right numbers and not understand mathematically what you're saying. And we can actually be even more specific because we have the exact numbers here. So buy $1.05 per box. So it's really not even close. Now, this being said, again, I love equations because I can put any number in an equation, can't I? Remember when we were doing comparisons? What's the first thing we taught you to do if you got a comparison? Find a common entry. Well, if I can do any number I want to, can I put a 2 in for crackers? Yeah. So I could have just gone C equals 1 and 4,500 times B. But now I want to say, okay, so what does 2 boxes cost me? I put a 2 in for the B, and I find out that it equals $2.90. I've already done this one. Which is a better deal, $2.90 or $5? Again, but if you do that, make sure your explanation says why. Because if I do that, do I have any work on this side? Okay? So the better way to do it for work purposes is to show these two, show this, and show this. But if you want to do it this way, just make sure your explanation brings into account what you did up here, that you're making that comparison. Make sense? Okay, going back to when we first started rates. Who remembers how frustrated I was getting with everybody that didn't want to do all the work and just wanted to do the numbers in your head? And I told you on the test I made it hard, didn't I? Guess what? We're at the test. No, but the numbers are basically the same. We just changed them up a little bit. Joe and Erica made 6 pints of lemonade for their lemonade. How many gallons did they make? Hint, 1 gallon is equal to 8 pints. So when I set this up, if you'll do the work we asked you to, it would say 1 gallon is 8 pints. And I know it's going to equal some number of gallons over 6 pints. How do I go from 8 to 6? Not minus. It's got to be multiply or divide. Divide by? Can't really tell, can you? So here's where you have your other options. Okay, I'm going to give you 2 major options on this. One is called our step back. Can I take 8 down to something that would be easy to get to 6? What? 2, right? So if I divide this by 4, that becomes 2 pints. Divide 1 by 4, that's 0.25. 1 divided by 4 is going to go 2, 5 times 0.25. So how do I go from 2 to 6? Times 3. So here's the big key. If you decide to do this, make sure you're using both of these numbers. So I take 25 cents times 3. If I have 3 quarters, I have 75 cents. Or you can actually do the math. 0.25 times 3 means I go 2 decimal places, 15, 5, 6, put the 2 decimal places back in. So I have 75 hundredths of a gallon. Okay? Yes, the number on your test is equally as bad. The good news is, if you will set it up like this, you've already got half credit. If all you do is throw a couple numbers down, how much credit do you get? None. Nothing for the wrong answer if there's no work shown. Your other option, guys, if I don't know what I multiply to go from 8 to 6, I can do the opposite and say, okay, well, what if I divide? What if I divide 6 by 8? Well, we can do that same thing. 6 goes into 8 7 times. 56 gives us a 4, still not at 0. Gives me a 0. That's going to go 5 times. Subtract 40. There we go. So there's my multiplication. If I went straight up, I go 8 times 0.75 is 6. 1 times 0.75 is 0.75. Either way is acceptable. Okay? Questions on that problem? Probably the most difficult problem on the test. Make sure you understand the process, guys. They charge $3 per gallon. How much money will they make if they sell all of their lemonade? So we now know they have 0.75 gallons. And I know that they're going to sell it at $3 per gallon. I should have done that one first, because now I'm going to switch that around. Okay, they're selling $3 a gallon. I know I have 75 hundredths of a gallon. How do I go from 1 to 0.75? Multiply by 0.75. So I'm going to have to multiply 0.75 times $3. You have 2 decimal places. That's going to go 15, 22. Put the 2 decimal places back in. How much did they make? $2.25. Oops, let me step back. I forgot to fully answer this one. So they made 75 hundredths of a gallon. There's my answer to that one. Number 3, they made $2.25. Okay, lots of numbers up there. Again, if you have troubles, make sure you go back to the video this weekend and study it. Because you guys, again, this is A day. You'll be taking the test on Monday. The next one is actually relatively simple. Fanny took a road trip to her grandma. She drove at a constant rate of 30 miles per hour for 4 hours. She took a break and then finished the rest of her trip doing a constant rate of 40 miles per hour for 4 hours. What was the total distance of Fanny's trip? So this one's actually going to break into 2 pieces. We have the first part of the trip where she's doing 30 miles per hour. And I know she's going some number of miles in 4 hours. Our magic box says we multiply by 4. That gives us 120. Second part of the trip, she's doing 40 miles per hour. She's still traveling some number of miles in 4 hours. Our magic box, how do I go from 1 to 4? Times 4 gives us 160. But we're not done yet because it asks for her total miles. So I have to take the 120, add the 160, we get 280. So she traveled 280 miles. And yes, Audrey traveled has 2 L's in it. Audrey's in our A1. She really was questioning my spelling. She should not. My spelling is excellent. You could actually even ask my wife. As much as my wife will say negative things about me, there's the 2 things she will give me is navigation. I'm like a human tracking beam. Put me down somewhere, give me a map, I'll get you anywhere you need to go. The second one is my spelling. She doesn't use dictionary.com. She just asks me how to spell stuff.
You know, it's funny. I'm really glad they all look at me when you say the white part.
Madison. I think all our pictures help. Okay, guys, turn the page. 100 offices need to be painted. The workers chose between yellow, blue, or beige paint. They decided 35% of the offices will be painted yellow. 9/25 will be painted blue. The remaining 2,900 offices will be painted beige. Quick hint, the easiest way to do this, put the numbers they've given you directly into the chart right away so you don't confuse yourself, okay? Yellow, it said is 35%. I'm going to put that number in. Blue, they said was 9/25. I'm going to put that in the fraction because that is a fraction. Beige, they said is 2,900. I'm going to put that in the beige, in the decimal place because that's a decimal. Personally, the first ones I'm going to, you know what, Kaylee, you need to like throw that away, not just put it away. That is so distracting to you. You've been lost all period. I hope you're at least getting this stuff written down because this is not good. The first thing I'm going to do is turn all of these percents into decimals because that's the easiest thing. So I just go 1, 2 as a decimal. That's 3,500. I take my decimal, I make it a percent. I go 1, 2. That's 29%. Easy, right? Okay. Our next one, this is the confusing one. This is the one that differentiates our kids. Did they give us out of 100? No, because that's all we've told you is percents out of 100, right? Cannon, what do I do? Excellent. So I multiply them by 4, and I get 36 over 100. So now do I know the percent? 36%. Now I just turn it back to a decimal, move it 2 to the left, 3,600. Last part is our fractions. The fractions are easy once we have the percent, because we know percent means out of 100. Do not forget to simplify. That's where a lot of people are going to lose points. This is also where your 4 key numbers become really helpful, because I can check a number like 29 over 100, and I just look at both of them. Can I divide both of them evenly by 2, by 3, by 5, by 7? If you go through that fast and you say no 4 times, you're done. That's in simplest form, guys. Do you see how easy that 2, 3, 5, 7 works? Please utilize it. Our last part, we need to also graph it. So you don't have to have colors. It would make it easier, but I'm just going to use my pen, and I'm going to say, okay, 35%. I'm going to go to the side. So there's 35. The whole big piece on this, make sure you do a key so I know what it is. My 36%, so the next 36, I'm just going to go up and down. So that's 35, 3 whole plus the 5 plus 1 additional. So that gives me 36 total. So going up and down is my blue. And then beige is going to be everything left, which actually worked out well. And this is also a double check for you. If I don't get all the blocks covered, I did something wrong. So my beige is going sideways. Make sense?
You caught my OCD. Like that one has nothing in it.
There. Better?
Yeah. Wait, that's it.
Do what? No, it's still going. Okay, our last part. Now we're going to convert. Our first one, convert 4/10 to a fraction and percent, show all work. This should be the easiest part of the quiz, guys, quite frankly. 4/10, converting it to a percent, I just go 1, 2, empty buckets get a 0, 40%. Once I have the percent, now it's really easy. 40 over 100. Don't forget to simplify. Gives me 2/5. Did I do everything I needed to on that one? Yep. Should be right there on the left side of my computer. Our next one, convert 6% to a fraction and decimal. Show all necessary work. 6%. Turning it to a decimal, super easy. 1, 2, empty buckets get a 0. So that's 6/100. Turning to a fraction, super easy from percent because percent just means out of 100. Divide that by 2 to simplify, 3 over 50. Now, I don't know why. I don't know why this one was throwing everybody off because this is literally just a division problem. So turning it to a decimal is super easy. I'm just going to divide. Remember, when I divide and I'm looking at a fraction, the top guy is the winner. He goes in the house. My loser's left out in the cold. I know I should have something less than 1 because this is a fraction. So I'm going to subtract 48, gives me a 2. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 20 twice. Subtract 16. Leaves me a 4. Still not at 0, so we'll bring another 0 down. 5. Subtract 40. Now I finally made it to 0. So as a decimal, that is 625 thousandths. Changing it to a percent once I'm in a decimal is extremely easy. Literally, all I'm doing is moving it twice. Doesn't matter how many numbers there are. No, I always move it twice. Doesn't matter how many numbers there are. Why do I always move it twice? Because percent is out of 100. So I'm going to rewrite this one just to make sure from the work you understand what those two answers are. Now, just to recap once again though, tests are important. How much are tests worth? 50 points. How many questions do you see? 10. Guess what? That 10 is worth 50 points. They're not worth 5 each. You can actually see some of these are worth a lot more than others. For example, what am I doing on this one? A decimal and a percent. So how many points is that one worth? 2. This one, same thing. This one, same thing. Ooh, look at number 5, 6, and 7. How many for each of those? There's 3 for each because we gave you 1. Because we gave you 1 spot. So that one question, 9 points. The chart is actually along with the key. The chart may be an extra point. I got to look at the key again. So you can see how these points are going to add up quick, right, guys? Please, quiet down. Please, guys. My fear is you're taking this test on Monday. You're not going to forget about it over the weekend. Take some time to study. Go back and listen to the video. I'll be putting it up while you guys are in your next class. So it'll be up when you get home tonight. Any last questions?